Bad Blood back. Which classic pay-per-view should return next? We know it is returning, so we're not going to bring up Bad Blood. But
Right.
usually with Blood, usually comes with Hell in the Cell. So it's more so the concept, because of course we want all the classics to come back. But if all the classics come back, they're just names, Unforgiven, slap that on. No Way Out, slap that. It's just there's not a lot there with it. But when it comes to a certain few different PLEs or big events, there's a concept. So for example, I'm going to take the first one here, Keith. Tribute to the troops. Obviously, I don't want us to go back to Afghanistan. That's not necessary. But the idea and the concept of just going to an arena that is close to
Right.
um in Virginia somewhere, like, okay, that's cool. They're paying tribute, but let's do something different. Let's put
Right.
it on a ship. We've seen that once. Let's do something where it seems like it's about the troops and not so much so about, just another event that has to
Right.
they bring in the cash. Just something a little different. I don't know, man. I know it's tough to do because we're not going back to Afghan. Like, let's be honest, like,
Right.
that doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense now. But what do you got? Let's hear it.
I think so like a little bit more of like a concept to it all too, even like than
Yeah.
a title name because like there literally hasn't been one in like 30 years, more than 30 years. But this Tuesday in Texas. Like just a even like a taboo Tuesday, like just a not
Yes.
a not weekend like pay-per-view or PLE, whatever I hate calling
Yeah.
them PLEs, but like a not weekend one,
Yeah.
something that's like like not and I feel bad because like this Tuesday in Texas wasn't like a great it
Yeah.
wasn't a great concept because it like if you go back and like when they did that, I think it was in like 92 that I saw when we were talking about this stuff. Like it was like in 92 or whatever, and it was like the week after, or like it was like a week after SummerSlam or something. And it was almost like like it almost made like the pay-per-view before it like this like lead into that rather than making like them both like their own thing. So like I think if you're
Okay.
gonna bring that concept back, you kind of like spread them out a little bit more. But just pick a
Yeah.
month, pick a month like that's like slower or whatever when you're trying to get stuff together before maybe in like that kind of lull time between like February and March when we're not quite at Mania yet, but we're past the Rumble and we need to like do some stuff. Like, cool, just
Yeah.
do your normal whatever one you're gonna name it in between your roadblock or your whatever stomping
Yeah.
grounds and whatnot, and then just throw like a taboo Tuesday or a this Tuesday in Texas or whatever you want to call it. We got a bunch of T's
Yeah.
in this country that did this Tuesday and I don't know, Tallahassee.
Yeah.
They love Florida. It's
We could
Tuesday
even,
in
like,
Tallahassee,
yeah. And you could tie it into, like, social media, like TikTok or something like that, TikTok
exactly.
Tuesday, where it's like,
Beautiful.
you
TikTok
know,
too. Love it.
something. I mean,
Exactly.
the whole, voting and all that, fan voting is just, let's be honest, it's not legitimate, and we know that. We've
Right.
seen it in the past where it's like The Rock is going to go one on one with Santino Marella, JTG, and John Cena. It's like, well,
Vote for
okay,
who you want now. Yeah. They
yeah.
never won. I voted
And
for
then out of nowhere, JTG wins or something. It's just, but the concept, and I got another one. I mean, eh, eh, modern era, it seems like Survivor Series and War Games,
Mhm.
are on the are now going to be associated. So that leaves out the whole brand versus brand. And I know
Right.
what is brand versus brand. The past few weeks, Randy's been on Raw, Austin Theory's been on Raw, and it's just, we can go back and forth with,
Right. Yeah.
who is on what brand. Is it really brand versus brand, or is it just, SmackDown's on Friday, Monday, Raw's on Monday, and that's really it. But I'm missing that. I'm missing the brand versus brand. I thought it was just really, really cool to just even the build up too, and the storylines going into it was
Right.
specifically Raw versus SmackDown. Now it's just like SmackDown get a team, Raw get a team. Maybe we'll put on something, and if it's not, then it's the Bloodline versus what was it? Bloodline versus not the Bloodline.
There's like the anti-bloodline like contingent. It was
Yeah, yeah,
I know Owens was in there.
Yeah, Randy Owens.
when Sammy,
Um,
I think it was
yeah,
Drew and
yeah,
Sheamus, Drew, Sheamus, Randy, Kevin,
yeah, yeah. I don't know,
Justin, help us out in the comments. Come on, bud.
but even like associate NXT now, that would be something cool.
Right.
It's just I miss that. I know it's difficult to do because it's really, you know,
I
there's
think that's
no
the tough thing with
one
it.
or
I don't
yeah,
disagree with you. I would love a brand warfare kind of a bragging rights or a Survivor Series like it was that year when it was the
exactly.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT kind of ones and everything. It's just it is like you just kind of said, like it's just tough because it's like if you want to have that kind of pay per view and everything, that's fine, but you gotta like it require. I feel like it just like requires too much like
It does.
which it's like crap to put it this way because like this is what their friggin' jobs are, but it's like it requires like too much focus outside of that pay per view. Like
Yeah,
the very first time when they did Raw, SmackDown, NXT, they they built that one up enough. And granted, maybe part of that was like the Saudi plane incident kind of like forced them to do so, but like that helped a lot where it was like NXT showed up and there was a bunch of NXT versus SmackDown matches stuff going
yes,
on because they were missing people or whatever for it, and that was great. But like it's like we've seen it so many times in the past. Like when the brand split first came back, Survivor Series that year was like, Rollins and Ambrose or Rollins and Seth and Roman were like fighting with each other like three
yeah,
weeks before Survivor Series, and then because they're both big names, they're both on the Raw team, so like now they're teammates, and it's like, well,
yeah, yeah,
and then Ambrose, who was on SmackDown, like helped them do a triple power bomb to Strowman, I think, or someone else. Like it was just like
yeah,
do it or don't, like I'm all
yeah,
for it. Like, yes, let's do it, but like do it then. I don't want it to be just like storyline. All right, it's November or whatever month that
yeah,
it's coming up. So now all of a sudden I'm wearing a SmackDown shirt because I'm on SmackDown and I rep this brand when like 3 weeks before you were floating back and forth and cutting promos on Raw because they
yeah.
needed you to. Like, yeah.
And you know what else too? I didn't think about this, but you brought something up where it's like it's kind of difficult, but it's their job. And I guess it would be difficult because it seems like every pay-per-view is just in another country or it's just, a big deal with some sort of just, a single match with like Gunther or something or Ken Sammy. It's like it's more about the storyline than the actual concept of the pay-per-view, the PLE, which is I get it because if you think about it, like Raw versus SmackDown, that means Raw team and SmackDown team, those, writers have to get together and say, like
Right.
Randy is going to go one on, is going to mess, you know, show up on Raw
Even
and
well,
challenge
yeah.
Cody, and then Cody's going to do this and that. So I
Like
get it, but it's like, yeah,
that part of it to me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in with it, but like that part of it to
no,
me isn't even like the hard thing. It's more of it's just like we it's fine if it's like, we know the pay per
yeah,
view is going to be just, I keep harping on November because that's when it was with Survivor Series, whatever. So, like, just keeping it there. Like, all right, we know come November, we
yeah,
have brand warfare and everything. Great. Okay, cool. What that means, though, is that nobody from Raw should be showing up on SmackDown to pick any fights or do anything until like
yeah,
mid October, early October, maybe.
yeah,
And it shouldn't be a consistent thing. Like if Randy is on Raw and he's going to fight Cody on SmackDown, fine. Randy shouldn't be on every episode of Raw and SmackDown every week leading up to that pay per view. Like
yeah,
you have it in between, so you can build it and everything, and that's fine. But it also should then be like once that's done, Randy shouldn't be on SmackDown again, right? Is that what I said?
yeah,
Randy was on Raw, whatever. He should the person shouldn't be on the other brand again for a while after that again, or a while before we get to October, whatever it is to build it. And that's
yeah.
where like the problem always was it was like, well, it's the brand split, and then there's the whatever that rule was they had where it was like oh
Wild
man,
card,
I can't
right?
remember what they called it when McMahon was just like, oh yeah, these people they can come back and forth sometimes if they
Yeah,
want to,
wild
and it's
card.
like
Yeah,
wild card rule. That was it.
yes,
Like just no, man. Like
yeah.
if you're having
It's
a
tough.
split, have a split and just do the split, and that would
Yeah,
make these kind of it would make that kind of pay per view better and like more of a
yeah.
more of like a viable thing.
I was thinking of
But
like a
yeah,
Rebellion, but I mean, we have Rebellion every other
well, so that
PLE
was
now,
I was
you
gonna say
know?
that was my other one. Like I know it's a little bit different now because they're starting to like go overseas more, but there was that stretch that I do like where it was just like
Yep.
call it whatever. But just like having that, like knowing that like there's one pay-per-view every year that's gonna be in, it was always
Yeah.
like in London. There was like
London. Yep.
Insurrection, Rebellion
Yes.
was the
Yep.
one of them. You know, do it, let's bring that back again.
Yeah.
You know, if
And
they're
I
not
don't.
going to be putting the bigger event, if, well, I mean, they have been, but like if we're not going to have WrestleMania overseas or like SummerSlam overseas or Rumble, you know, in a
Yeah.
different country, that's fine. We're bringing other pay-per-views there and everything, and that's great. But like, you know, especially for the UK fans, because I feel like there's such a huge market over there with it. Like, do
Yeah.
that one every year. You know, you'll always sell that one out if you know that even if they're not getting a WrestleMania necessarily, we know that like, hey,
Yeah.
in March we get Insurrection or, you know,
Exactly.
Capital
Yeah. The last.
Carnage.
Oh yeah. With the fake Barack Obama, that was so cringy. So bad. One last one, and it's I don't know what you would call it, but the concept's there. I mean, the next topic is Joe Hendry, and I would think something along the lines of a TNA crossover would be really cool. I know that is wishful thinking. Trust me, I get it. It was Vince where we didn't even say Impact or TNA, or
New
AJ never
Japan, or
wrestled
yeah,
anywhere other than AJ never wrestled anywhere other than the WWE, but it seems like we're slowly getting to maybe something like that. It would be cool. I don't know what you would do. I think maybe Trips just wants, TNA or Impact to work with NXT and not bring them up to the main roster. But it would be cool. I mean, I think it would be
for
historical,
sure.
right? I don't think we've ever. I mean, ECW to an extent, but that was just more like a invasion angle, not really, WWE guys going over to TNA and vice versa. So that's
I
another one.
I think that's a great idea. I don't think that's out of the
Yeah,
realm of possibility either. I think we still just are like
yeah,
in kind of like the infancy of this like working relationship
yeah.
between
What
them
is
and
it? Yeah,
TNA. Because it's already, I'm all, I don't want to like make it sound like I'm like ragging on it in any way because I'm in full support of it and everything, but it is like even now it's like a little bit like kind of, it's a little bit disproportionate. Like
yeah. It's like Hendry's going against
NXT is
Coffee.
getting, yeah,
Yeah,
NXT Hendry's on like every week, which is awesome. I'm not complaining about that. We're about to have a
no,
big love fest with him in a minute. Don't worry. But like he's on NXT every week. Like NXT has him almost every week. They've had Jordan Grace. The I
yeah,
don't need to go off on her. I've love her to death. Everybody who watches this channel before knows that. If it is your first time watching it, I love Jordan Grace. Have for a long time. You know, they got the Rascals, who are maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but they're a huge tag
yeah,
team in TNA. And like, meanwhile, on the flip side, like the biggest, and I hate to put it in quotes because I like them, but like the biggest name that they've sent to TNA to this point is like Charlie Dempsey. Like Charlie Dempsey went
yeah,
over and wrestled recently. I'm trying to think of who else it was. Friggin' Tatum Paxley, Izzy
yeah,
Dame. Like they're cool. I love NXT. Like they're cool. Like just seeing them on there and stuff. But it's just like, you
yeah.
know, no offense to
Not
either one of
one.
them, but it's like Jordan Grace,
Yeah,
Tatum Paxley.
yeah,
You know, like Izzy Dame.
yeah.
Jordan's still way
It's
up here. Like you're still not even making it a 2-for-1 evenness there. Like, you know, Jordan Grace
yeah,
is a friggin' monster. She's a star. She's awesome. He's up here. Charlie Dempsey is like as
yeah.
close to, or you can see my fingertips still, but like, you know,
Exactly.
it just needs to be more
Yeah,
proportionate. And then I think if we get to that point of making it more proportionate, I don't think there's anything saying that we couldn't see a TNA crossover pay per view,
yeah,
whatever they would call it. Not
yeah,
Forbidden Door. Would Grace called it something when she showed up? The something portal.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
something
It
like
would be
that
cool.
absolutely be amazing.
Yeah, bring back some of the concepts. It's a fun thing to do. It's tough. I get it to build a storyline to a concept. Pay per view that has a Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber. Like I get it. It sells itself, but and they don't really do much of selling the storyline when they head to Elimination Chamber. It's just well, it's in Australia. And it's
Oh
Punk's
yeah.
here, so maybe that's how we can sell it. Like I want it like steel cage and it's takes years off your body and
Right.
blah blah blah. It's just like, oh, we're going to Australia and this will be fun and maybe Punk will return. I get it, there's a lot that goes into it.